Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well by God's grace. I was not well, as you can make out from my nasal sound, but now I'm much better. So let's get started with your next chapter, which is a poem by the name Snowdrop. The poet is Edward James Hughes, and his pen name is Ted Hughes. Now, Ted Hughes, although he is a nature poet, but he is a little different from your usual nature poets. Why? Because normally the nature poems you come across are all about the beauty of nature, but Ted Hughes, he is taking a different perspective towards nature, and he chooses to talk about the brutal and cruel aspect of the nature. From the title of the poem, you can make out that this poem is related to your winter season. So now I'm going to read out the lines of the poem and explain the poem line wise. Now is the globe shrunk tight round the mouse's dulled wintering heart. Weasel and crow, as if molded in brass, move through an outer darkness, not in their right minds. Now, in the beginning of the poem, the poet says that the extreme winter has shrunk the globe. It has made everything and everyone shrink in their own places because of the cold. Their movements are restricted. He also talks about the major effect on the aerial and terrestrial animals. During other seasons, the creatures can move around like they want to, but during winter they cannot, because they have to remain in their tiny holes or wherever they find a bit of warmth, so that they are able to survive because of the extreme cold. If they go out or if they move around like they do normally, they will not be able to survive. So this means that the creatures are now limited to their small spaces, and this is what he means by reducing the horizon of a creature. Then he takes up the example of a mouse. He says that usually the mouse is a very brisk creature, it's very agile and very quick, but during winter the heart of the mouse almost shrinks as an effect of the cold. Rounded in the shape of a snowdrop, and is almost frozen, and the heartbeat goes very slow, and it is as if it will stop anytime. So the poet might be indicating that the mouse is in hibernation, that is the winter sleep, or this is an indication that the mouse is almost on the verge of death. It can die any moment. Now, the other two active creatures which the poet talks about are your crow and your weasel. He says that they are dormant in their places. Dormant means without any movement, and they don't even look like living things. They look as if they are brass statues, which indicates that they have frozen and they are immobile. They cannot move. They seem to be statues, and therefore they are not in their right mind, and it is as if they are moving in an outer darkness. They are dying, and so everything has gone dark for them. Even though he has not referred to other animals by name, he has only mentioned your mouse, your crow and weasel. But the winter of course has affected even the other creatures, in the sense that they do not scurry or fly. Their movement is restricted. Most of them are in hibernation. They don't have ample amount of food. They are having a very difficult time as they cannot move out, and they are not in their right senses because of the extreme cold. They're restricted to their places, and because of that they either die of hunger, or if they go out they die of cold. Next lines go as such: with the other deaths she too pursues her ends, brutal as the stars of this month, her pale head heavy as metal. Now in the next lines, the poet, he turns his attention from the creatures to a flower named Snowdrop. It is white and it seems to be very fragile. Snowdrop is also a part of nature. is also a form of nature, and nature knows how to attain its goals. Where the other stronger, supposedly stronger creatures were not able to survive, nature is surviving in the form of a very small, delicate flower. It is able to penetrate through the layers of snow, hard snow, and that flower is able to bloom. So, while there is death, there is also survival in the form of a very small flower. So, this is a big contrast that the poet has presented before us. Next, the poet compares Snowdrop to the brutal stars of winter, in the sense that these stars are determined to shine regardless of the extreme cold. It has no effect on them, just like the stars shine regardless of the hot or the cold season. In the similar way, the snowdrop is blooming despite the adverse conditions it has to face. That shows its determination to survive, and that is the main theme of the poem, which is the survival of the fittest. If you are determined, you can survive in whatever adverse condition you are facing. Her pale head heavy as metal. This line is very important from an examination point of view. And by this line, the poet means that although the snowdrop has very light blossoms, they seem to be very delicate. But the poet is comparing snowdrop to metal because of two reasons. One reason being that the snowdrop, although it looks very delicate, but it is as hard as metal because it is able to cut through the layers of snow, which is very hard, and it is able to sprout through the layers of snow. This indicates that it is as hard as metal. Next, the other reason is because metal is heavy, so the blossoms of snowdrop are, they don't bloom like this, they bloom like this. The head of the snowdrop, it droops, and it seems as if the head is heavy. That is why the snowdrop is not able to keep it upright, and so it droops. Therefore, the snowdrop has won its battle against the harsh winter, while the other creatures have not been successful. So, in this way, the nature is giving us an example of how determination and positive approach can make you survive in any kind of adverse condition. You can face all the hardships and still come out strong, irrespective of the fact that at that moment you are not feeling very strong. You are feeling weak and delicate and fragile. Fragile is the right word. But if you are consistent, nature is in the form of snowdrop giving you an example of how determination can make you stand through and survive through anything that life poses in front of you. So, yeah, this is a very inspiring poem, and it is teaching you that success is attainable despite the hardships, only if you have a positive approach and the attitude to stand through whatever comes in front of you, like the snowdrop. So, yeah, now coming to your poetic devices. In the beginning lines, the heart of a mouse is being compared to a globe, which is a metaphor because comparison is being made. But this comparison is so exaggerated in the sense that a tiny mouse's heart is being compared to an entire globe. So, this exaggerated comparison is known as hyperbole. In the next lines, you can see that the crow and the weasel are being shown similar to brass statues, and the word as suggests that this is a simile. Now, your assonance is the similarity in sound between two syllables. that are close together. Here, there are two lines which are being considered: round the mouse's dulled wintering heart and move through an outer darkness. Now, the syllable which we are considering here is ow, ou, ow sound, and the words which have the ow sound is round, mouse, and outer. In the next line, we see personification. With the other deaths, she too pursues her ends. She, either nature or the snowdrop in the form of nature, is being referred to as a person by the use of the word she, and hence this is personification. The next line, brutal as the stars of this month, as simile, the similarity between your snowdrop and the stars is being shown. Coming to our last line, her pale head heavy as metal. Again, her is being used, which means personification. The flower is being referred to as a person, and as signifies simile. The similarity is being shown in between a metal and the tiny snowdrop. Like I've told you before in some previous poem, that alliteration is the repetition of the initial letter. So in this poem also we can see alliteration. In the starting lines, where wintering heart, weasel and crow, the W alphabet is being repeated. And the next example is her pale head heavy as metal, where H is being repeated. So this was all about your poem, and I hope that the poem is clear to you. And in case if you have any doubt or any query, do let me know. God bless you. Love your parents. Stay home and stay safe.